The sound of the rubber ball slamming against stone walls echoed through the sacred court like the heartbeat of the gods themselves. Each bounce wasn't just marking the rhythm of a game, it was counting down to someone's final breath. Deep within the ancient Maya city of Chichen Itzá, during the civilization's golden age between the 9th and 10th centuries, stood a court that defied every modern understanding of sports. This wasn't a place where athletes competed for trophies or glory. This was a cosmic battlefield where mortals played for the ultimate prize, the right to continue living. The Great Ball Court stretched an imposing 168 meters in length and 70 meters in width, making it the largest ball court in all of Mesoamerica. Its limestone walls rose like monuments to divine power, decorated with intricate stone carvings that depicted scenes of ritual decapitation and human sacrifice. These weren't mere decorations. They were warnings of what awaited those who failed in the sacred game. The Maya ball game, known as pitz in classical Maya, represented far more than athletic competition. It was a religious ceremony that reenacted the mythical battle between the hero twins and the lords of the underworld, as told in the sacred text of the Popol Vuh. The players weren't simply athletes, they were actors in a cosmic drama where every movement held spiritual significance. The solid rubber ball, weighing approximately 4 kilograms, symbolized the sun in its daily journey across the sky. Players, divided into 2 teams, had to keep this solar sphere in motion using only their hips, forearms, and shoulders. Touching the ball with hands or feet meant not just a foul, but an offense against the gods themselves. The rules appeared deceptively simple. Pass the ball through one of the stone rings positioned on the court's side walls. However, these rings had only centimeters more diameter than the ball itself, making each score an almost miraculous event. Most games were decided by points earned when the ball touched specific marked zones on the court floor. But there was something that distinguished this game from any other sport known to humanity: the price of failure. Maya codices and archaeological evidence reveal a chilling truth. The losers of the sacred game were offered as sacrifices to the gods. This wasn't just any death, but a ritual transformation that guaranteed cosmic balance. The sacrifice ritual wasn't senseless barbarism, but a meticulously planned ceremony that formed an integral part of Maya cosmology. The priests believed that the blood of defeated warriors fed the gods and ensured the continuity of the solar cycle. Without this sacrifice, the sun might stop in its path, plunging the world into eternal darkness. The players knew this. Each one entered the court, conscious that it might be their last day on Earth. This awareness of mortality didn't paralyze them. It transformed them into divine warriors who fought not just for victory, but for the honor of transcending death through sacred sacrifice. Archaeological evidence from sites like Chichen Itzá, El Tajin, and Copan reveals the sophisticated infrastructure built around these courts. Stone benches for spectators, elaborate drainage systems to handle the blood from sacrifices, and acoustic designs that amplified the sound of the ball throughout the city, all testament to the game's central importance in Maya society. The ball itself was a marvel of ancient engineering. Made from the latex of rubber trees mixed with juice from morning glory vines, it created a sphere that could bounce with incredible force while maintaining its shape through countless impacts. The manufacturing process was closely guarded by specialized artisans who understood that they were creating not just sports equipment, but sacred objects that connected the earthly realm with the divine. Recent archaeological discoveries have revealed that the game's influence extended far beyond the Maya civilization. Over 1,300 ball courts have been found across Mesoamerica, from Mexico to Honduras, suggesting that this deadly sport was the unifying cultural element that bound together diverse civilizations under a shared cosmological understanding. The timing of these games wasn't random. Maya astronomers calculated the most auspicious dates based on complex calendrical systems that tracked the movements of Venus, the Sun, and the Moon. The games were scheduled to coincide with important religious festivals, ensuring maximum spiritual potency for the sacrificial offering. The dawn of the sacred game day brought with it an atmosphere charged with spiritual tension. The players didn't wake up as ordinary athletes. They arose as warriors preparing for a battle that could carry them directly to the gods. The preparation began before sunrise. Participants underwent purification rituals that lasted for days. They bathed in sacred cenotes, natural sinkholes that the Maya considered gateways to the underworld. The freezing water didn't just cleanse their bodies, it was believed to purify their souls for the possible encounter with divinity. The priests applied body paint, using sacred pigments extracted from plants and minerals. Each color held specific meaning. Red represented blood and life. Maya blue symbolized divine sacrifice. Yellow evoked corn and fertility, while black reminded of death and the underworld. These designs weren't merely decorative. They were power symbols that connected the players with cosmic forces. The players' equipment reflected both functionality and religious symbolism. They wore heavy leather and cotton belts called yokes, designed to protect their hips during impact with the rubber ball. These belts, some inlaid with jade and obsidian, weighed up to 20 kilograms and required years of training to be used effectively. Knee and elbow pads, crafted from jaguar skins and decorated with quetzal feathers, didn't just offer protection, but identified each player's social rank and origin. The most noble wore ornaments of gold and jade, while players of lower status used decorations of bone and shell. Team selection followed criteria that transcended athletic abilities. Priests consulted the sacred Maya calendar to determine which combination of players would be most favorable to the gods. They considered not only each participant's birth date, but also their lineage, their exploits in previous battles, and their spiritual connection with patron deities. In the days leading up to the game, participants underwent ritual fasting, consuming only sacred chocolate mixed with spices and blood from sacrificed animals. This special diet had not only spiritual purposes, but altered their state of consciousness, preparing them for the transcendental experience that awaited them. The training regimen for these sacred athletes was unlike anything in the modern world. From childhood, selected boys underwent rigorous physical conditioning that included running up pyramid steps while carrying heavy stones, practicing ball control for hours using only their hips, and enduring pain tolerance exercises that would prepare them for the brutal impacts of the game. The betting that surrounded the sacred game revealed the depth of its social impact. Nobles wagered entire territories, slaves, tributes, and precious objects. But beyond material wealth, the destiny of entire cities was at stake. A defeat could mean not only the death of the players, but the political subordination of an entire people. Temple musicians created a hypnotic atmosphere with drums made from human skin, bone flutes, and marine conch shells. The rhythm of these instruments followed complex mathematical patterns that the Maya believed synchronized the game with celestial movements. This wasn't music for entertainment, but to invoke the presence of gods in the sacred court. The crowd that gathered to witness the game wasn't merely spectators. They were active participants in a collective ritual that reinforced Maya society's social and religious structure. Nobles, priests, warriors, and artisans positioned themselves in specific sections of the court according to their social hierarchy, creating a microcosm of Maya civilization. The psychological preparation was perhaps the most complex aspect of the ritual. Players underwent sessions with priest psychologists who helped them achieve a mental state where death was not feared but welcomed as transformation. They practiced meditation techniques that allowed them to transcend physical pain and enter altered states of consciousness during the game. Tension reached its peak when players performed their final prayers before entering the court. They addressed Itzamna, the creator god, Kukulkan, the feathered serpent, and especially the hero twins, Hunapu and Ixbalanque, who according to Maya mythology were the first to play ball against the lords of the underworld. The final ritual before the game involved the blessing of the court itself. Priests walked the perimeter sprinkling sacred water mixed with blood, copal incense and ground jade. This ceremony transformed the playing field into a sacred space where the physical and spiritual worlds intersected. In these final moments, the line between life and death became blurred. Players didn't fear death. They considered it a glorious transformation that would elevate them to divine status. This mentality wasn't blind fanaticism, but the result of a deeply rooted worldview that saw sacrifice as the ultimate expression of honor and devotion. The moment had arrived. The sun reached its zenith as the players entered the great ball court, and with their first steps on the sacred stucco surface began not just a game, but a ceremony that would determine the fate of their souls. The solid rubber ball was presented by the high priest, who had blessed it with jaguar blood and burning copal. This apparently simple object contained the symbolic power of the Maya cosmos. It was the sun that had to be kept in motion to prevent the end of the world. The players received it with reverence, knowing their destiny was tied to the bounces of this sacred sphere. The game began with supernatural intensity. The athletes moved with coordination that transcended the merely physical. Each jump, each hip strike, each defensive block formed part of a ritual dance that recreated the cosmic battle between light and darkness. The sound of the ball against the stone walls created a hypnotic rhythm that resonated throughout the entire city. The spectators didn't remain passive. Their shouts and chants followed specific patterns believed to influence the game's outcome. Nobles waved quetzal feathers, while priests burned copal incense in braziers strategically placed around the court. The sacred smoke rose toward the sky, carrying the prayers of those present to the gods. As the game progressed, tension became almost unbearable. Players showed bleeding wounds on their bodies due to the constant impact of the 4-kilogram ball against their skin. These wounds weren't seen as damage, but as blood offerings that intensified the game's ritual power. Each drop spilled spiritually fed the sacred court. The skill required for this game was extraordinary. Players had to calculate angles, speeds, and trajectories with mathematical precision, all while maintaining balance with equipment weighing dozens of kilograms. A calculation error didn't just mean losing a point, but moving one step closer to ritual death. The strategic complexity of the game rivaled modern sports. Teams developed elaborate plays that took advantage of the court's acoustic properties, using specific shouts and movements to confuse opponents. The ball's unpredictable bounces off the slanted walls required split-second decision-making and incredible physical conditioning. When finally one team managed to score by passing the ball through the stone ring or reach the necessary score according to the game's specific rules, the crowd didn't celebrate like at a modern sporting event. Instead, they were immersed in reverential silence that recognized the moment's solemnity. Someone had been chosen by the gods for sacrifice. The losing team didn't try to flee or resist. They had been trained from childhood to accept this destiny as the ultimate honor. They knelt in the center of the court, with heads raised toward the sky, preparing for their transformation from mortals to gods. The sacrifice ritual followed protocols established over centuries. The losing team's captain was the first to be honored. The principal priest, using an obsidian knife sharper than any modern scalpel, made a precise incision in the warrior's chest. The heart extraction wasn't an act of violence, but a ceremony requiring surgical skill and profound anatomical knowledge. The palpitating heart was raised toward the sun while the other players awaited their turn. The priests believed that this vital organ, still beating, contained the warrior's spiritual essence, and its offering guaranteed that the sun would continue its daily journey across the sky. Without this sacrifice, the Maya cosmos could collapse. The bodies of the sacrificed weren't discarded as waste. They were treated with the same respect granted to gods. Their bones became sacred musical instruments, their skulls decorated temples as reminders of their divine sacrifice, and their names were immortalized in codices as heroes who had given their lives for cosmic balance. The ball court transformed into a giant altar where spilled blood mixed with sacred stucco, creating a physical connection between the earthly world and the realm of the gods. The Maya believed that this place, impregnated with sacred blood, became a portal between dimensions where the living could communicate with the dead. The victorious players didn't celebrate their triumph with joy. They knew their victory was temporary and that in future games they might be the ones to offer their lives. This rotation of destiny maintained a social balance where ritual death wasn't seen as punishment, but as a rotational privilege that all warriors aspired to achieve. Archaeological evidence from excavations at Chichen Itzá has revealed the sophisticated infrastructure supporting these rituals. Underground chambers beneath the court stored the remains of sacrificed players, while complex drainage systems channeled blood to sacred cenotes. The entire complex was designed as a machine for transforming human life into divine energy. The game's legacy transcends its apparent brutality. It represented a complete worldview where life, death, and transcendence formed a continuous cycle. Archaeologists have found evidence of this ritual in more than 1,300 courts distributed throughout Mesoamerica, confirming it wasn't an isolated practice but the core of a civilization that saw sacred sacrifice as the ultimate expression of human honor. Modern analysis of Maya texts reveals that the game served multiple functions beyond religious ritual. It was a means of resolving political conflicts, a form of divination to predict future events, and a method of maintaining social hierarchy. The sacrifice of players wasn't random violence, but a carefully orchestrated system that reinforced cosmic and social order. This story shows us how ancient cultures integrated death into their daily lives in ways that seem incomprehensible to us today. What do you think about these rituals? Do you believe there was spiritual value in these practices, or did they simply reflect a violent society? Leave us your comment. Don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating historical content. And give it a like if this story has made you reflect on cultural differences throughout time. Thanks for joining us on this journey to the past.